got a little bit of a battle. This is Paul Wildridge. Is this finally it? Almost banging doors down the Kemmel straight.
Paul's getting aggressive. He tried to pinch him down. The 24's in the wall. They're going to wreck and across the line. Who even has it? It is the 24. Turner somehow takes the win.
Andrew boxing in Warling as they go through there. Andrew Waring's going to try and make it around the first turn safely. It's going to be almost 3 wide as they go up the corner. It is 3 wide as they go up towards turn 2.
Great move by Pete Herod, sensing the opportunity there. Great car control by the two drivers, banning wheels. It's not something you normally get away with in an open wheel car, but Pete Herod to the lead, still 3 wide all the way through Druids.
Gives him another shove. Things are getting rough, and now they come together fully as that happens behind them. Suddenly catching up. Here comes Devin Horvath into the mix.
Is he going to try to go the long way here around Bruxelles? I think he is. Almost contact there as that was Beaufil trying to get a little bit wide. Carrying the momentum around the outside is Paul Wildridge. He's going to dive it down into No Name, and he's got the position for now.
10th overall. Whoa, he spun! And Edwards has spun. Can he get at the line? No, he can't. Bolton snatches it up at the last moment. Taking advantage. It's rare you can see passes through here side by side. Probably not going to end well as they come together and cutting back underneath. 3 wide through this corner. This does not look good. This does not look good. They're still going to manage to hold on to it. And Nick Kuhn around the outside keeps that position.
They're going to try and pinch and move him here, going 3 wide into turn 3. Goodness me. 3 wide through the turn. Bradley Holly has to back out of it. No, he goes for a spin and he's around.
He's to the inside and tries to shut the door, but it is way too late as the 7 has nothing for him except to break extremely late down into Andretti, try to go the long way around to defend, and he might have this one back. Round the outside, Ove Trangrade finds a little bit of grip, but he falls behind. Topi Kortaniemi has a nose ahead, tries to cover up, but the car is back there once again. Trangrade inside of turn 2. The battle carries on the last lap of the race for the lead here in round 6, and out of turn 3, Topi might have it done. No! He gets pinched down. Trangrade back up to the front. They say that we as human beings are afraid of the unfamiliar. What scares us is the unknown. It's appropriate then that on Halloween, our drivers must face off at a new track for the first time. The Hungaroring will be uncharted territory and may throw up some spooky surprises. Let's see which driver feels at home haunting these halls as we get ready to watch round 7 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Now, we don't want our viewers to be afraid of a new circuit, so to help them out, we have our handy track guide to introduce you. Welcome to the Hungaroring. Situated just northeast of Budapest, this Grand Prix circuit has racked up a stunning history in just a little more than 30 years of existence. Its biggest claim to fame is holding the first Formula One race inside the Iron Curtain at a time when the Cold War was at its peak. But most fans don't associate this 2.7-mile or 4.38-kilometer track with politics. No, its 14 turns make it tight and twisty with a reputation for few places to overtake. For a long time, it was renowned for processional races in which qualifying is of the utmost importance. But the past couple decades have seen a litany of utterly wild and unpredictable races that greatly overshadow the single-file events of before. The majority of passing takes place into Turn 1, while some battles do carry on into Turn 2. But be careful about how greedy you get, because the steep drop in elevation makes it easy to go wide. Other than that, Turn 12 is often the only other realistic place to sneak by your opponent. Perhaps the scariest and trickiest of the corners is 4. which presents a blind and crooked entry into a high-speed flick. Though modern times have seen a paved runoff added to it to make it safer, that's considered out of bounds, and drivers will find themselves being told to give back time if they abuse the exit. Built with fans in mind, the track sits in a natural bowl, allowing great views from most sides of the venue. It's easy to see why it's become a fan favorite on the F1 calendar, and there's little doubt it'll continue to see lots of racing for years to come. Well, DJ, happy Halloween. The question is, will we get a trick or a treat for our drivers at this track?
Well, Joe, to be fully honest, it's going to be a mix of both, because the first sector around this track, well, that's going to be a real treat for these Lotuses. We're going to see some great overtaking opportunities courtesy of some good slipstreaming going down into turn 1. And as always, the fight back through turns 2 and 3, always exciting to see. Going to see a lot of speed from them coming into turn 4. But the real problem is going to be this sector 2. From turn 6 all the way to turn 11 is very, very narrow, very, very twisty, and it's going to be really hard for these Lotuses to handle, specifically with the high sausage curbs coming through on turn 6 and 7. If you so much as graze them a little bit with your tire, you may be looking at undercarriage damage, but they're going to have to try to stay as close behind as possible in that area, because you've got to try to set up a good run once you come back in through sector 3. So it may be a little bit of a low passing race out here today, but I think what that means is drivers are really going to be going for it when they've got an opportunity.
That'll be fun to watch, no doubt. Just like this season has been a lot of fun to watch. And right now at the top of it, it is Marco Kayla who leads the way by almost a full win over Severi Seppa. Bathurst did not treat Severi well, so he continues to drop down. Pauli Partanen not too far behind him in the points there in third, with Timothy Reed a little bit of a jump back. And then Andy T not showing up at Bathurst, of course, has found himself falling down to 5th position. Andy isn't here today either. So now we head over to the Teams Championship, which has also been a bit fascinating.
Yeah, it really has, Joe. As you can see there, Equip Renault Elf does hold the lead, but only by 11 points over March Grand Prix team, so not all that much breathing room, with Fittipaldi Automotive still relatively within striking distance, 23 points back if Reed and Karani can find themselves having a good couple of results. Essex John Player Team Lotus is a fair ways back there, 38 points back, but they have Ragno Aero's Beta Racing Team breathing down their necks, so a good battle also shaping up there for that 4th place position in the Teams Championship.
Now, for today's race, we are looking at 30 laps around here. It's a bit of a twistier track, but they still get through the laps pretty quickly. It's an open setup series, and they don't have any spare cars. And, of course, that will be a big talking point if we see damage accrued by some of the curbs around this place. Now, they also have some drive-through penalties. There's a lot of paved runoff, so if you get greedy over the course of the race, you'll find yourself down pit lane. And since there's no scheduled pit stops, that is going to be a huge difficulty to overcome out here today. 25 incidents will actually get you fully disqualified. We're waiting for the first laps to come in on the qualifying right now. 2 bonus points for our pole sitter, don't forget. So drivers will be vying for this one, not just for the track position that it may give them, but for the extra boost in the championship. And looks like Timothy Reed taking the provisional pole, but we're still waiting on guys like Seppa and Barba.
Yes, indeed. A lot of names still ready to come in. Tolan and Parton and Trangrade as well. Looks like there, Severi Seppa is going to find himself up into 3rd on the charts. Trangrade up into 5th, and Benoit Daisy up into 7th there for the number 12. So some good times being put down already.
Marco Kayla not here also, and that is going to help Severi Seppa, but Pauli Partanen coming to the fore as he takes the provisional pole now. Still need to wait on guys like Tolanen, but as someone who tends to like a lower downforce car, I wonder if this track won't necessarily suit him, as you see him coming out of turn 14 now and across the line. A 31.9 Ooh, will put him up onto the front row. So I take back what I said. Yuka has fit in just fine.
Yes, he has, and he's going to be very, very happy with that to be able to start on the front row here at a track where I said overtaking is going to be at a premium. Watching here as Trangrade works his way around in that familiar Honda liveried machine, coming there out of that final corner in Sector 2. That's going to be a pretty crucial corner to try to set up. We may see a little bit of a run or two coming down here into these final two couple of corners, but really and truly, when we get to the race itself, as Peter Koneski goes to the top of the charts.
Ooh, and Juanmi Costa is now up ahead. Karthik Pai gets into 8th. There are a lot of them coming across the line, Seppa included just now. And his second lap is a 31.853. That is only going to put him into 5th. Ove Trangrade up onto the front row. It is switching around second by second.
It really and truly is. Lots of drivers putting in some good times here. Let's watch here the number one. Let's see what Loic Barba is able to move his way up from that 13th place position. He's going to cross over the line. He's going to go a couple of tenths faster, but I'm not sure that's going to count.
It looks like it did, but he unfortunately is not finding himself anywhere near the front. Jukka Tolinen, who was briefly on the front row, comes to cross the line for the second time. Doesn't go faster, unfortunately. And I think he is our last driver able to set a time. I take that back. Tomas Bartfai, who has not put a single lap in, well, he put one, but it got deleted, is coming around. And there you see the white number 22 coming down to turn 12. Don't think there's anyone other than him.
Yeah, it looks like he's about the last driver out on track to try to set that time here. He works his way around. It's going to be very interesting to see how those drivers take those long hairpin corners there. Lots of different lines you can take in the Lotus to try to maximize the speed. Bartfall now coming across the line here. That's a 32.9. That's going to be good enough for 14th.
Indeed. So the grid is now set after that, and it is going to be Juanmi Costa who takes those 2 bonus points. He's just outside of the top 5. He missed last round at Bathurst and the race at Phillip Island, so this will be crucial if he can take this on to a potential victory. Partanen hasn't had a win yet this season. Could he maybe do something here today to deny Costa that win from pole? Ove Trangrade starts from P3 to his outside. It'll be Peter Koneski. Then you've got Severi Seppa starting in 5th, unusually low for that number 2 machine. Pablo Suarez starts in P6, and Jukka Tolinen had brief sights of a front row start, but it eventually got pushed down into 7th. Then it's Timothy Reed who starts in P8, and Karthik Pai with a great qualifying in 9th. Benoit Daisy will be P10.
Xavier Sanchez will be starting off in P11, followed by Sebastian Morin, with Loic Barba and Tomas Bartfai, rounding in behind him in 14th. Robert Plumley will be starting off 15th, followed by Barry West, with Javier Mosquera and Keith Herner in row 9. Borja Zazo will be 19th, followed by Rafael Franco in 20th.
Last 2 on the grid, Daniel Gallus in 21st and Frankie D in 22nd. And this is the top split of 2 that we are watching here today. So if you're not familiar with iRacing, that means that 44 drivers signed up. And so the top 22 get put here based on iRating. Now, they do have a little bit of heat on the track, but really it's looking pretty good to me at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, 27 Celsius. So this should be relatively ideal for our competitors. But the big question mark is the run down to turn 1, both in real life and here on the sim, DJ. It's been a danger zone.
Yeah, it really and truly has, Joe. It is a very, very wide corner down into turn 1, but it's a long drag down there, so plenty of opportunity to pick up a little bit of draft and have some fun going into it. We're going to have to watch out and see if anybody runs afoul of each other today.
Looks like just a few more drivers that need to grid up, and then we are ready to go. Let's see who of these 22 will adapt well to this brand new circuit here on iRacing. And I think just looking for the front row along with Seppa, Tolinen, and D to find their way out there. And D has now plopped his car on the grid. Round 7 here for the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, in which it has been an interesting championship up at the front. Seppa and Kayla have really been the quickest, but Kayla's not here, and Seppa looks a little bit on the back foot out there. He's given it a long time before he puts it on the grid. Now he's got himself out there. So it's Jukka Tolinen who will be the last among them. And now that he has placed his car amongst his competitors, the engines will start to rev as the lights come up. And the green flag is out. It is not a good start for third place Trangrade. He pulls off to the left-hand side as many cars manage to stream past him. Seppa up into third potentially here, down into the first corner as we have a challenge for the lead. Partinen trying to poke his nose on Costa, not able to get that. Seppa around the outside is into P3. Everyone behind is through turn 1.
Everybody is through turn 1, but not without going too wide. There's Trangrade trying to fight up the inside to try to regain some of the positions that he lost. He'll slot in P5, it looks like, as they are Noah's Ark style now going in through turn 2. Everybody's starting to fan out a little bit as they come up the hill. This is where the Lotus can flex its muscle, taking this turn 4 absolutely flat out, and here they go.
Oh, problem for Morin in the wall. He almost looked like he went straight in. There might have been some hardware issues there for that one. We'll try and check on that a little bit later. But Costa leads, Partinen in second, Seppa up to third before the first lap is even over. Konecki is behind him, with Trangrade falling to fifth from P3 at the start.
Yeah, and you see there, Joe, as they make their way through that 8, 9, 10 complex, the car's starting to fan out a little bit. Ooh, a little bit of a poke in the back there. Pablo Suarez maybe trying to look a little bit aggressive, seeing if he can challenge Seberi Seppa to go forward. But nothing doing here. Now they make their way through this turn 13, and here is the setup corner. This is the one you've got to get right if you want to have a move on the main straight.
Honestly, about the only good passing zone here today. Turn 12 might offer some opportunities, but it is going to be tricky. And as we ride on board, chasing down into that first turn, doesn't look like we've got anything between Tolinen and Suarez. Suarez going to have to back out of it, still vying for that 6th spot.
Yeah, indeed, and I think Suarez maybe even compromised himself a little bit by taking that narrower line there into turn 1. It was an aggressive move, seeing if he can maybe throw... wow, is that Suarez around?
Oh, and our first victim from turn 3. Trickier than you'd expect, apparently, especially with the tires maybe not completely up to temperature. He gets it going. I don't think he hit anything in all that.
No, that was just a perfect little roundabout there for Suarez. And yeah, Joe, it will take about 2 or 3 laps for these tires to get fully into their operating window.
Oh, big wreck in front of him. That's Bartfi, and it looks like Daisy, both off track in the chicane into the gravel. They're going to get it back on course, but that's some big damage on the 12 machine.
Yes, it is, and it looks like just a simple rear-end collision is what it was. I think Bartfi just kind of running into the back of Benoit Daisy as they made their way into that very narrow chicane.
Let's see if we can get the replay of that one up. So a bit of contact between our drivers here early on. Otherwise, it's been mostly clean. I was able to go back and look at Morin myself. Still can't figure out what happened to him. He just went straight on with no real obvious incident. Here is the spin initially for Suarez. Beautiful job, frankly. Everybody just kind of is able to stay out of his way, but he's going to lose a lot of positions. And then here is Daisy getting a punt.
Yeah, and this is Bartfi coming in behind him, just misjudges the braking a little bit. You can see that rear end lift off the ground. I gotta say, I think Daisy's pretty lucky on that. I would have expected some rear wing damage to that number 12 machine. It looked like he hit that outside Armco, but I don't think he picked up it.
Yeah, so it looks like he'll at least, be able to continue, but the car looks a little sketchy. There is some rear wing damage from what I can see, just the tiniest bit. I don't think the car is quite good. There you can see it now from our onboard.
Yeah, just a little bit there. That wider shot made a fool out of me there. You can see that little kink down. And that's not only going to affect his drag going down the main straightaway, it's also going to make things a little bit harder to control through the twisty bits.
As we come to P4 here, looks like Konecki under threat from Trangarade. He wants those positions back that he lost at the start. Tolinen is behind him. Ooh, and some blinking from Peter is not a good sign for this battle. They come up to the final corner. Let's see if the Norwegian can manage to get himself the exit he wants.
Looks a little bit back, but that draft is super strong here at the Hungaroring. He's going to try to push in just a little bit more. Not quite close enough. Little bit of a later entry into the corner, just trying to carry some momentum. I don't think he's going to have the move here set, but he's definitely thinking about it a little bit.
Ove is an interesting case this weekend here, DJ, because he took the victory back in Camel GT yesterday in a very similar car. A lot of ground effects with the Nissan, but that's a multi-class series. He had a lot of opportunities with lap traffic. I'm not sure if it's going to be quite as frantic here with these things.
No, I anticipate this being a little bit more calm across the board as things go along. In Camel, with the multi-class, it causes you to get off your line a little bit more, and you've got to really go for those opportunities to get around the slower GTOs when possible. Here, with everybody running roughly the same pace, it's going to be a lot trickier to try to do, but I've got to give credit here. Yuka Tolinen just holding in behind this battle. If Konecki and Trangarade end up tangling a little bit, we could see him pick up the pieces very easily.
Yeah, I think Yuka, though, is getting a little aggressive with some of these curbs. I saw through the chicane, he went wide off of there, and hopefully that didn't damage the underside of the car. And speaking of wide, Peter really squaring off the penultimate turn, opening himself up to attack, as behind him, Trangarade staying much more tucked. So different lines that we're seeing between 4th and 5th place.
Yeah, and that's one of the things here at the Hungaroring that can be very, very nice for these cars, is you can take those opposite lines to try to carry a little bit of momentum, try to blunt off an attack or anything like that. Ooh, a little bit slippery there on the exit from Peter Konecki, but it looks like now Trangarade that may be the one under a little bit more of attack. Tolinen starting to close in on the back of him.
Interesting note about Ove as well is he's only had 3 career podiums, which kind of surprises me here in the Sunday Grand Prix series. That's over 10 years of trying. Now, he is relatively new compared to some of the long-timers who've been around for about a decade. Another little look to the inside of Peter. But only 3 podiums for a man as fast as Ove is frankly a little disappointing.
It's disappointing and surprising, Joe. He seems to always be right in the thick of things, and I would not have put his podium count that low. But remember, he does like to tend to run the car a little bit more trimmed out, a little less downforce, try to maximize speed on the straights, and that can be a very high-risk, high-reward type of situation.
That makes sense to me. Well, no risk down into turn 12 this time for him as he stays put. In fact, a lot of drivers really are settling in here. We haven't seen a whole lot of passing action over the last lap, which is about status quo for most races here at Hungary. It is tough to try and overtake at this circuit. Maybe it will come down to once they finally do catch up to lap traffic, which is not going to be for quite some time because most of the drivers are on the same quarter of the circuit here.
Yeah, and the discrepancy between lap times isn't all that high. Juan Costa out in the lead, putting down mid-33s, and Daniel Gallus, Benoit Daisy, Thomas Bartfei, the drivers in the back of the field, putting down 35s or so. So it's gonna take a hot minute for everybody to catch up to each other around here, but we'll have to see. And remember, with no pit stops, that's also going to change the calculus a little bit. We're not going to see those sort of crazy in and out laps that are going on. This is all about just keeping cool and collected out here.
And we mentioned Benoit and Bartfei before. Well, Benoit just got past Daniel Gallus, and now you just saw the 22 of Tomasz also bump himself up into 20th place. Only DNF so far is Sebastian Morin. Everybody else still running. I may have spoke too soon because mascara is off. Javier, now did he have an incident out of turn 4? Because that is one of those big danger zones as well.
Yes, it certainly is, but I'm not sure if he crossed over onto the curb or if he just sort of lost that on his own volition. Let's take a look here. Comes across, yeah, just catches a little bit of that curb. And what that can do, Joe, is if you get too much of that, it will actually break the suction down on the car. The undercarriage of the car, remember, with the ground effects here, it's all about just sucking that car into the track. And because of the sort of razor-like edge of those curbs coming out of turn 4, it breaks that seal. And that's where you start to see it snap. We've got a battle on track.
Yeah, that was Ove giving a go down into turn 1. He's going to have another chance into 2, but it's not quite there. He managed to at least put Peter offline through turn 1, if we want to get a replay on that. And he gave it his best go, but just could not seal the deal, unfortunately. But he's starting to put some pressure on, and Peter will know it. He's been seeing it in the mirrors.
Has indeed. There it is. You see that move down to the inside. That's what he needs to do. But whoa, aggressive cut back there from Peter, just shutting the door on Ove Trangrade.
Get one more look at it here. Coming down into the corner. I noticed he was getting mighty close, and then he didn't even show his nose, though. That just really rattled Peter, strictly from getting so tight to the gearbox of that 13 car. So we'll see if he can withstand the onslaught as the race continues. He's pulled away a little bit now to about 0.8 of a second. That'll be handy as they come back around to that same first corner here in just a moment.
Well, what's interesting about this is it's very clear that I think Peter Kozeneski's holding up this pack a little bit. We talked about Trangrade following behind, Yucatolan right behind them, but that's allowed for Timothy Reed to close in on the back of everything here. So a little bit of a train starting to form here behind P4 of Peter Kozeneski.
For that first corner, nobody close enough this time through. As this battle has been going on, things have been staying pretty tight between Karthik Pai, Loic Barba, Sanchez, Zazo, Plumley, and Suarez. This is basically from 8th down to 13th, and there you see the 5 car there of Sanchez really hounding Loic Barba right now.
Yeah, really and truly just putting on some pressure here coming up through turn 4. Both drivers able to manage through that corner quite well. And a lot of times that kind of pressure that you need to put on around here, that's just the way to get by. Try to force a mistake from the driver in front.
Down through the chicane, everybody has been extra careful about that orange curb to the inside, not wanting to cut across that thing. Bart Fye just got another one for what it's worth. Don't need to go back there, but Tomasz up to 18th now in his recovery as they come onto the run down to turn 12. There's a look down the inside as Sanchez manages to take the apex away, but he's pinched in. Great defense from Loic.
That was a very, very good defense. A little bit over-opportunistic, I have to say there. Tried to get by, but we may see a little bit of a fight again coming down the main straight. Very close in a line here as they come through the final corner.
Frenchman's really got to get a good exit, and Sanchez, unfortunately for him, has got a better one as they come down the straight. No defense from Barba as he lets him have the inside. Once again, he seems to like to run those long lines around the outside, but this time he has a tiny lockup, and that will allow Sanchez up in the 9th.
And you saw there Barba trying to fight back a little bit, get that car back to the outside, coming in down through turn 2, but it just didn't work out for him. So Sanchez on his way forward into P9. He now has Karthik Pai right ahead of him in that yellow machine.
All still in a train, so Sanchez not losing a whole lot in that attack, which is a boon to him. As you mentioned, Pai just up the road about 0.5 of a second down through the chicane. Once again, everybody getting woed up into there, but nobody slipping up this time through. Keeping half an eye on this, but also Partanen for brief moments has been getting within about 0.3 of a second of Juan Costa. Now, I don't think we've had an attack quite yet for the lead, but we need to be careful watching out for the 6 and the 4 who seem to have pretty even pace today.
Yeah, indeed we do. All of these drivers really keeping each other honest across the board here. As Juan Costa, I think, heard you say that, Joe. That's the fastest lap of the race down, but keeping an eye back with Tolanen and Trangrade. I thought that Yuka was going to have a chance down the main straightaway, but Trangrade just able to get a better launch off of turn 14 and hold him at bay.
Yeah, now he's got to worry about that orange and white machine from behind. Tolanen has been continuing to fill his mirrors. Oh, and we got a pass behind them between Plumlee and Pablo Suarez. Suarez able to get by the 19. Remember, another recovery driver here, Pablo, as he spun out of turn 3. This one a pretty straightforward effort down into the first corner.
Yeah, that's pretty much done and dusted. Suarez being able to move his way back forward. I saw behind that Benoit Daisy also able to get a similar move on Keith Herner to move his way up to the 15th.
Interesting thing with Suarez as well is now he's got a practical buffet in front of him with Zazo, Barba, Sanchez, and Karthik Pai. All should theoretically be somewhat slower than him on race pace, but it's one thing to make that judgment based on qualifying. It's another when you've got a car disturbing the air in front of you.
Yeah, exactly. And even with as much downforce as these cars generate from their undercarriages from that ground effect, there are still big wings on this car, and they do need a little bit of that clean air to be able to get through the corner nice and quickly. And you can see just how tricky that is. You see how drivers are trying to take different lines through the medium speed corners to get everything right and try to line themselves up to be able to get the pass done where they need it.
Back onto the main straight. Do we have any other passes? Sanchez a few laps ago got past Barba, but he's not close enough to Karthik Pai right now. A few drivers showing their nose a little bit coming down into the first corner. And as they brake heavily into that one, a little wide there from the bright blue-green of Zazo, almost opens the door for Suarez.
Yeah, almost does. And rest assured, Pablo's going to be keeping an eye on that narrower line in there for Loic Barba. Looked like he was just trying to cover off any potential attack from behind, but that's going to cost him about a 10th, I think, as they work their way up the hill, looking a little bit like a sandwich there in between the two battling pairs of these other drivers.
The 11 is dealing with this pressure well. He's had this train behind him for most of the race at this point. We're getting close to halfway through. A lot of dirt being kicked up on that exit as well. Wonder if that'll affect some of that grip there through that turn as this race continues on. Everybody using every inch of the track they can. And now Suarez really getting all over the rear wing of the number 10. He's going to defend a little bit coming down into 12. Suarez takes a peek, but then comes back to the racing line.
Yeah, doesn't want to go for it there. There was a bit of an opportunistic move from Pablo, but he didn't lose too much time. Ooh, way off line there a little bit for Zazo, but able to carry some good momentum. Watch Suarez here. He's got a great run, has to check up a little bit coming through turn 14, but I still think he'll be close enough to maybe make something interesting down the main straightaway.
Can see a few of them going mildly defensive, but nothing big. Suarez once again showing himself in the mirrors. I think that's just a head tactic from him, but Borja soaking it up. He'll stay in 11th. They got to watch out though, because behind them, Robert Plumlee is waiting to try and snatch up the pieces. You can see him in the green and white there, number 19, hoping that maybe he could get a spot back.
Yeah, he's going to be able to move his way forward. We're just seeing all of these trains just developing across the field here, Joe. Drivers really not able to get anything by, but don't worry. I think in maybe about 10 laps time or so, remember these cars will burn off a lot of fuel. They'll get lighter and looser as it goes along. And when we get into the later stages of this race, I think that may be the opportunity for a little bit more aggressive moves, and B, we may see some mistakes out of these drivers coming around the corners.
Yeah, I think that will be the key. Just watching for mistakes, putting yourself in position to try and capitalize as soon as that presents itself. Not seen many so far amongst this group. A little bit of runs wide, maybe sometimes going deep into the corner, but nobody's able to try and snatch it up. Sanchez, or Suarez rather, got past Plumlee earlier, but has been stuck since then, trying to overtake on Zazo. As you can see, Ove Trangrade has regained his ground on the 13. It's back down to about 0.3 of a second.
Yeah, and you're seeing there what can happen on a failed overtaking opportunity, that you lose that time and you've really got to struggle to try to get it back. Whoa, we've got something going on in that battle. That looked like Sanchez, I believe, had a problem. Something wonky.
Yeah, he did, and he just hit the curb. He almost slid into the side of... Oh, and ghost contact spins him into the path of Suarez. And turn 3 has bit him in a different way for the second time today. Sanchez off the track, Suarez with a little bit of damage, and that all occurred thanks to a little bit of a slip-up into turn 1 from our wrecked car, unfortunately. Sanchez just kicking that off.
Yeah, and so it looks like what happened here is he just came in a little too shallow, caught some of the inside curb, and that caused the car to just lose a little bit of that suction underneath the car. There you can see it, the car sideways as he comes through, able to catch it, and everybody pouncing behind, trying to take over that opportunity.
Wow, just it trickles down through the order behind him. He tries to carry on battling here, and there was huge air between them, and then unfortunately it became huge air as he slides across the paved runoff and becomes our second retiree here today. 20 cars now still running on the track, but we have seen at least a couple victims here on Halloween.
We have indeed. Definitely some tricks being pulled on our drivers out here today. We focus back on the remnants of that battle here. Karthik Pai leading Loic Barba, and Borja Zazo just trying to close in behind.
If we can get a close-up of Pablo Suarez, we'll be able to see the damage that he accrued from that little clip there, and it is very bad on the front. Like you said, a lot of the ground effects make up the downforce on this machine, but it looks like he does not have straight line speed now because of that hit.
And Joe, I have had the misfortune of having to drive a car with almost that exact damage. It is so incredibly difficult, not only because of that straight line speed loss, and you are just so frustrated as you're trying to get going, but you just can't seem to find front end grip anywhere you turn.
Oof. So it's going to be a long day. It's all been kind of downhill for the 14, unfortunately. Mosquera just overtook Frankie D, so Javier getting back into things. He's up to 18th place, but we come back to Ove Trangrade now on your screen. Still stuck behind Peter Konietzki after his poor start. Plugged up into 5th place. Jukka Tolinen has been watching from behind, but he also hasn't been able to make the pass.
Yeah, neither driver getting too aggressive here, but it looks like that Yuka's able to close in a little bit at the end of the straightaway a couple of times. So I'd be watching out for him to maybe start to make a little bit of a move here in the next couple of laps. I think he's just been sizing up Ove, figuring out where his strengths and weaknesses are around this Hungaroring circuit, and maybe he's going to pounce here.
And while we see this group of 4, we've been watching little flashes of a white and yellow car going by. That is Seppa, who is ahead by about 2.5 seconds. He's not really running away at a huge rate of knots. There he is on screen. But he has put himself in his own little comfy corner, basically being able to run his own race, which I'm sure he appreciates, considering it doesn't look like he's got the pace to try and fight for the win. In the meantime, that was a great run through some of the slower sections from Jukka Tolinen, starting to catch back up to Ove Trangrade, but there's few places to pass along that backside of the course, and he's going to have to maybe try and size him up in a couple turns time as we now hop on board the roll bar.
Ooh, and that was very squirrely there from Ove Trangrade. You saw that car getting very, very sideways. This may be the chance for Yuka to try to get something done. Ove's able to gather the car back up under him. Wide angle there. I think this may be a little bit of it for Yuka, although Ove able to carry some pretty good speed through that final corner.
Yeah, just on the throttle as soon as it would allow, and the Finn is not going to get the chance he wants, although he brakes hard and brings it back in and does get a mistake out of Ove Trangrade mid-corner. A little slide. He caught it. He's trying to defend to the inside. Yuka looking to go the long way around. Can we get a Danny Rick moment here for the Finn? Not quite. He has to slot back in line.
Slots back into line, able to take a wider entry, though, into turn 3. Is that going to try to set him up for a very aggressive move into 4? He's thinking about it, not going to go for it. Falls back into line, but still right behind there. This battle certainly shaping up. That's going to be a little bit of a send and a wiggle there out of Tolanen.
And he loses the gap he had just gained. Says Timothy Reed has been quietly watching this whole thing. He's not close enough either, and he'll stay in P7. Man, things just suddenly all happened at once there. Seems to be like we were talking about, where little mistakes and suddenly you really got to be on it. And try as he might, Tolanen was not on it enough. He'll have to regroup and go for it later.
Yeah, indeed. And Joe, it is just absolutely crazy seeing just those sort of micro mistakes that happen out there on track. As we jump around here, this is that battle we were following earlier. That's Karthik Pai and Loic Barba looking a little bit aggressive, trying to go for a move there into turn 12.
So Karthik, the Texan, trying to see if he can keep the Frenchman back as they come up to the final corner. And both of them trying to really come in wide, cut to the inside on the corner exit and get the launch. And they're going to be equidistant as they fly down the front stretch once again. This is the battle for 8th place that you see on your screen. Still being chased by Zazo, who has gone from being pressured by a few drivers to suddenly being there kind of on his own in 10th place. Doing a great job managing to stay out of trouble and just ticking the laps off.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of what you have to kind of focus on here. The biggest thing that Zazo does not want to do is lose touch with the drivers in front. Yes, this is a circuit where it's very, very hard to pass, but if you lose that draft down the front straightaway, that's going to cost you each and every lap. So he is doing exactly what he needs to do, staying within about a second or so of Loic Barba ahead of him, and just keeping himself in position. If there's a mistake or these two end up going side by side, he'll be able there to pounce.
We're officially past the halfway point in this race now. Loic getting mighty close to the 11. Surprised to see Barba struggling as much as he is on pace, because he's got the number 1 on his car out here in the top split. So I would have thought that he'd be the driver to watch today, but just doesn't seem to have enough underneath him, unless he messed up qualifying. As they come down into the penultimate turn, they're all basically squaring off these exits now, trying to think one corner forward, looking to get themselves as good a run as they can, but nobody's got the advantage. Well, no, I say that. Zazo's starting to close in.
Oh, a little bit of weaving there from Loic Barba. Oh, very defensive move there. He's going to take to the inside line, going to force Zazo around the outside. Is that going to open up for a little bit of a crossover there from Zazo? He doesn't look like he's quite got the speed out of turn 1. Ooh, thinks about it. Now is going to try to go to a Danny Rick around the outside of turn 2. Nothing doing, though, there for that bright teal machine.
He's still on his tail, though. Like, I think there could be something in this. If he doesn't give this up, could he stay with it down through turn 4 and surprise him into 5? No, not quite. But Zazo suddenly on things, as we were just talking about him calming it down and trying to get the laps in. He sees a chance. He wants to try it through the chicane. Drops off just a hair. Barba getting those legs underneath him now.
Yeah, Barba trying to stretch away a little bit, but he's looking a little ragged there. Ran very, very wide on the exit there of turn 8, but able to carry some good momentum. Zazo, though, still looking to be in full attack mode here.
We had a wreck from Bartfi, unfortunately, in the 22, and once again, it was turn 4. That one is a real killer here on Halloween, and it seems like his bad day just ended prematurely.
Yeah, catching him out a little bit, but there, as you see, as the drivers make their way out of that final corner, that is Zazo falling a little bit behind. He's going to be out of striking distance here at this point, I think, and indeed not able to do it. Let's see if he can get a good run here out of the first corner.
Doesn't look like that's there, so he'll have to sit behind. In the meantime, I believe we've got a replay spooled up for Tomasz. Once again, it's exactly what we saw before with these curbs. A little bit wide, spun it across. It was a big enough hit that he immediately left this one.
Yeah, and that just very much hurts the car. You're not going to be able to get a whole lot done, but we jump back here. Whoa, a little bit of a battle starting to shape up going down into turn 3.
Can he hold with it? Yes, he does. Benoit has got the red mist down. The 12 car suddenly finds himself in 13th, making a brave move around the outside of Barry West. Passes into 4R Rare, but well done to the number 12.
Yeah, well done indeed. And remember, a little bit of a recovery drive there from Benoit Daisy. He was involved in that earlier incident, still dealing with that just minorest of rear wing damage. So he'll be happy to pick up whatever points he can. Looks like it may not be entirely over, though. Barry West looking very feisty, trying to fight back behind.
If I know Barry, he wants to try and get this position back here as they come into the penultimate turn through 13. And now up to 14, switching back back-to-back 180-degree hairpins. And off the turn, yeah, Benoit says goodbye. I've got this thing under control. And unless he's lacking straight line speed here, I think he's going to be clear. He is lacking a little bit of it. West is closing, but he's not closing enough.
Whoa! Barry thought about it, though, going down into turn 1. Lucky the two didn't come together on that.
Look very good on the brakes, I have to say. That was interesting for a brief moment. And Peter Koneski, by the way, is pulling away from Trangerade. It's up to almost 2 seconds. What happened here? Yuka getting very close to the Norwegian. Has there been a mistake from the 9? And it must have been on this lap because he had a 32.6. That was his personal best last time.
I'm not entirely sure, Joe, what happened to Ove there, but that's a little bit disastrous for him as he's going to be losing touch with that draft in front. Meanwhile, trying to hold off Tolanen behind, and Tolanen's going to be right tucked up behind him.
Up at the top of the screen, fastest lap set by Juan Costa, but Partonen had a much better run out of the first corner, so a little mistake from the 6. And they have definitely been pushing with those fastest laps, getting knocked down repeatedly. There you can see the differences between them over the last 5 laps. Neither of these drivers have taken a win yet this season. Those have been hogged by Kayla, Seppa, and T.
Indeed, and I've been kind of keeping an eye on this battle for the lead out of the corner of my eye, Joe. These two have just been sort of yo-yoing back and forth, getting closer and breaking away a little bit. It is just sort of a wait-and-see battle of the Titans here. These two drivers really putting through each other's paces.
One little slip-up from Juan Costa could give away what could be a win from the pole position. They're still exactly where they sat on the grid, first and second place respectively. We're going to be 9 to go as we cross the line. Are we yet approaching lapped cars? Daniel Gallus might be one that they come upon. That could be an opportunity. After that, it's a long ways up to Frankie D. So they're not going to get many chances to be interrupted, which is probably more better news for Costa than it is for Partonen.
Yeah, it is indeed. Don't want to really be running too much into that. Ooh, little bit of a look there from Parton, and that's just him trying to poke his nose, see if he can get any sort of a head fake, and he got one.
He goes a little bit wide, sent it in deep. He's got the inside into the second corner, though. Is Partonen could be able to complete the pass. He tries to pinch him down, but gives him a fair bit of space. The battle continues down into turn 3. He's on the inside. They're going to bang wheels. They come together. He knocks him back straight, but Partonen is now your leader.
Partonen is now your leader, and Joe, just from cosmetics, it looks like both of them have identical right front wing damage, so they'll be able to keep on going and be fighting along here as they go.
Let's take another look at that one. I wondered if they were going to be able to make it through turn 3. It is marginal in most cars, and unfortunately, a little bit of contact did set Costa off the track, hopped it up into the air. Look at that, though. As soon as he got tipped the second time, he snatches the wheel and is able to point it forward.
Yeah, really, really amazing. Let's see if we can get an onboard there from Juan Costa to just see that reaction time from him, as I'm sure he was sawing at the wheel while it was mid-air.
Here we go on board. He's already side by side here. He knows he's made the mistake. Gives him space. Boink. Whew. Happens in fractions of a second. But now that Partonen is through, it is up to 1 second difference between them. Was Pauli being held up that whole time that he was sitting behind him?
I've got to think he is. The only other explanation that I can really give for that sudden gap in speed is that Wanmi may have picked up a little bit more of floor damage from that big lift off of the ground, and Partonen may have been able to escape from it relatively scot-free. And so the ground effect not working as strong in Wanmi Costa's car, and that could be hurting his overall times.
Really stalked him like a serial killer and then spooked him off the racing line. He is now your P1. Can he take it home from there as we jump back to 5th place? Ove Trangarade, another one that seems to be falling back from Konecki with Tolanen right behind him. And I just saw an incident with Mosquera. I think it was a self-spin. Don't think we need a replay on this one. Doesn't lose all but one position from him looping it around.
No, but we do go back here to focus in on that battle for P4. Trangarade's been able to pull in a little bit more time here on Peter Konecki, so that gap not nearly as massive as it was a couple of laps ago. He's been able to pull it down under a second right now, but Jukka Tolanen, really the one that looks like he is on the full-out assault here, just trying to find something, anything on Trangarade. Oh, we've got a car stopped on track.
That is Franco, once again out of turn 3. Do we have another situation of side-by-side? I don't think so. I think Rafael was another spinner. You mentioned the car is getting loose as the fuel lightens, and I think Rafael and Mosquera discovering that.
Yeah, Joe, it's really a combination of things. The car gets lighter, so it gets a little bit more dancy, let's call it. And then the other part of it is the tires wear in a little bit more. They're less grippy as they are at the start. Now, these tires are made to last an entire race distance, so it's not like you have to worry about it in that sense. But just by sheer abrasion, just by sheer going around the track, you are going to lose a little bit of that mechanical grip. And so that combined with the lighter fuel loads, the car just tends to be a little bit lighter, a little bit easier to snap on you, and that's what can happen if you're not careful.
Does that come back to that suction on the underneath, the less fuel in there? It's riding a little bit higher on the track. Is that what's going on?
That's certainly a part of it.
Interesting stuff. One of those counterintuitive things here that you wouldn't expect, and yet they do go faster. But I like to say in racing, loose is fast. And speaking of which, the usually loose car of Ove Trangarade is fast enough to run back down Konecki. Oh, and Costa has spun. Seppa moves into second. Another mistake from the 6 car, and Seppa gets a few more points that will be valuable in his championship hunt.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Wanmi just a self-spin there, overcooked it going into turn 13, and now he finds himself right in the midst of that battle. Peter Konecki trying to close in on the back of him, and that's going to be bad news, I think, for Ove Trangarade, who is hoping to be able to try to catch. Ooh, wide run there for Wanmi Costa. He is not liking the way that car is handling.
Yeah, that's the second time we've seen him run deep down into that first corner. Wonder if he really is losing the tires here, or if he's experiencing some damage from that contact. Very quickly on his gearbox, Peter Konecki is approaching up to turn 4. Doubt we'll see a pass here, but if he can hold on until they get back around to the front stretch, it'll be 5 to go, and he'll have a few more chances to really put the pressure on our former leader.
Yes, he will. And Joe, I think that damage is coming back to bite Wanmi Costa. That car just does not look happy out on the track. It looks like he's really fighting it. It's running wide at corner exits. I think he's just lost grip. I suspect he's got floor damage.
I saw a big slide there coming through 8. Oh, and Robert Plumley is off for some reason. This looks like turn 4 yet again. And yeah, another driver that found him spinning out. He's eventually going to get it turned back around. Oh, we've had a big pileup. That is Tolinen. Looks like Trangarade, Konecki off track in the penultimate turn. This all starts with a spin from Peter, and unfortunately, other drivers not able to avoid.
Oh no, it was running such a clean race and good battle with these guys, just absolutely coming back to bite here. Let's watch this, focus on that second black car in line. Coming there out of turn 12, goes down into the corner, that slow, lazy spin, and just dominoes.
And Ove actually started to spin his as well. I think he was getting on the brakes trying to avoid it, and they both found themselves turned around. Tolinen, unfortunately, having to take a tow. I didn't think he got that much damage from it. Yeah, it looks like he did, because he just pulled over and parked it.
I'm not sure what that is from Jukka Tolinen. I'm not sure why he felt the need to do that. But
and this is a pass for position. Peter coming back through on Trangarade. I think Trangarade experiencing more damage than Peter. And yeah, he's got so much more pace. And we saw on the replay there for a brief moment the solo spin that Costa had experienced as well in that same turn.
Yeah, Joe, and I was taking a look at Juanmi Costa's car, and obviously it's a little harder to pick out floor damage, but there's a couple of key markers you can tell with the way the car is built, and I can confirm he is suffering from floor damage. So that is one of the reasons why that number 6 machine is so fidgety out on track right now.
Looks like Tolinen will be our 4th retirement of the day, joining Bart Fye Sanchez. And Morin is another off there from Ove Trangarade. The same corner once again. That's not a corner that you usually see wrecks in real life or in here, but for some reason today it has collected a number of drivers, and he's now down pit lane. Is Ove also out of it here with a mere 4 laps to go?
Yeah, indeed. Drivers, I think, just trying to overcook a little bit, going down into that corner, being a little over-aggressive. But we jump back here and all of that action. That battle that we were following earlier, now for P6 rather, this is Karthik Pai and Borja Zazo as that battle keeps going on.
Unfortunate update. Ove Trangarade has put it in the garage. He is our 5th DNF of the day now. So Karthik Pai giving us some action with Zazo. These two have been in the same train, but not been fighting each other up until now.
Yeah, and so they are now going to be trying to see what they can do. It looks like that there's some good pushing along here, trying to see if there's anything to be had for Zazo. Just trying to gain in, losing a little bit of ground as he follows in the dirty air of that middle sector.
Looks like he can't quite keep up. Now I'm double checking on my stats here for Partanen, and he has had 1 podium so far. That would be at the Red Bull Ring. Otherwise, he hasn't really been visiting the top 3 steps all that much. So this victory is going to be a big one, with it being his first. And there you see him on screen now with 3 laps to go. Has continued to stretch himself away from all comers. Severi Seppa at least trying to do his best on the points and get second place. Who actually has the 2 bonus for the fastest lap? I'm kind of curious.
Looks like Severi Seppa holds it right now with a 1:32.1.
And that is valuable because Marco Kayla not here today. So drop weeks will be Marco's best friend after this one. While they will probably switch positions on the graphics next week. After that, when they start counting the drop points, it'll close back in together. So we come back to Karthik Pai once again. The battle for 6th place, but Borja looks like he's continuing to struggle to be as close as he was before.
Yeah, and I took a look about a lap ago on his car, Joe, and I can also report that he's suffering from just a wee bit of floor damage. The number 10 machine just going to have a little bit trouble following, I think, as a result of that. I'm not sure entirely when he picked it up.
Well, for the longest time in this race, we had very few DNFs, and they just dropped like flies. here at the end. Mosquera, by the way, just overtook Frankie D for 14th. Don't think we need a replay on that one, but he's coming back through. But down to only 17 cars running of our 22 starters with less than 10 laps to go.
Yeah, the Hungaroring really taking out a lot of these drivers, turning into a war of attrition out on the track. And sadly, I can't say I'm entirely surprised. You know, these cars obviously never drove around here in real life. It's not exactly a circuit that perfectly suits the characteristic of the Lotus 79. And as a result, it's very, very tricky to get right, very tricky to pick up that little bit of floor damage. And once that happens, it can really just set off the entire car.
I was looking through to see what team Partonen is racing for, and I think he's an independent because I'm not seeing him on the list unless I'm missing it. So he's got a retro livery, but he is going to be a solo effort out there today, as that is Suarez, who has now got himself in ninth. Well, maybe he's going to lose ninth because that's Daisy try to poke his nose around the outside. Come on, guys, you got to get through 2 more laps here, and he is anxious to try and get through.
Yes, he is. He wants to go for it, but he's got to wait a little bit. That car ahead of him is so very damaged. He's going to present an opportunity to him. Just be patient. Oh, Zazo side by side with Pi. They almost touch.
Just about, but Borgia is through, tries to fight back into 13, nothing doing. Borgia with a slip up off the corner now. Pi tries to fight back now around the outside for the 2nd corner in a row around the final turn. Cuts back underneath him. Let's see if he can make the pass down into turn 1. Immediate defense down the front stretch from Borgia as they get the white flag. 1 to go. Down into the 1st turn. The outside has been the modus operandi for that 11, but it's not going to work there.
No, it's not, but looks like a little bit of a try to fight back there from a Pi, but he's not going to have it going down into turn 2. He's going to run out of overtaking opportunities. We'll look for something aggressive here. Oh, as there we jump back to that battle with Suarez and Daisy. Daisy trying to push forward. This could be that move around the outside we've been waiting for.
Daisy has been trying to make up spots. Suarez has been trying to limit the damage from this race with a miserable day out here. And they go side by side. This has gone wrong so many times, but he denies him as we have to head to Partonen, who is going to come out of the final corner and take a Halloween win here today in Hungary.
A very, very good drive out here today from Paulie Parson. Oh, still trying to be side by side there into the back. That is still Suarez and Daisy duking it out. I don't know how Pablo Suarez has been able to hold on to this position, Joe.
And Benoit is trying everything. The kitchen sink has been thrown out the window at this point. There's been passes and spots or attempts at passes from him that I did not think were possible. Well, let's see if he can do something in 12. He looks a little far back at this stage. Pablo Suarez doesn't even defend into there.
No, he doesn't. You can see Daisy using all of that track to see if he can gain an advantage. Carries a lot of speed into the corner, but a little bobble right in the middle of turn 13. That may be day done there for Benoit Daisy.
Pablo Suarez starting from 6th on the grid, at least limits the damage to a 9th place and keeps back Daisy in the end. That's the last of our battles as our 16 cars on the lead lap continue to finish across the line. We're going to head to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Hungary as we just watched round 7 for the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and we've got a new winner this season with Pauli Partanen taking the victory over Severi Sepä, who started from 5th, was up to 3rd by the first lap. Didn't seem to have pace for the two leaders until a little bit of a problem for Juan Costa. Some mistakes sent him back to 3rd after starting on pole. Also had some contact, which seemed to hinder his pace slightly. Timothy Reed went up from 8th to 4th, taking advantage of all the drivers coming together there in that late race wreck through the penultimate turn. Peter Konietzki falling back to 5th after he was in 4th briefly. Borja Zazo was P6 from 19th here today as Karthik Pai finished in 7th, and Loic Barba, mysterious 8th, just didn't have the pace despite the number 1 on his car. Pablo Suarez was 9th, another driver with mistakes here and there, and Benoit Daisy recovering back to where he began in 10th.
Barry West was able to come home in 11th, followed by Robert Plumley in 12th, with Keith Herner 13th and Javier Mosquera in 14th. Frankie D was 15th, and Rafael Franco was 16th, the last car on the lead lap. Daniel Gallus finished 1 lap down. Trangarade, Tolanen, Bartfai, Sanchez, and Morin all DNFs here today.
Yeah, a number of them late in the race to boot. But our winner is ready to talk to us, Pauli Partanen. Let's bring the Finn in. Happy Halloween, Pauli. It is a very happy Halloween for you with your first win of the season.
Yeah, thank you. That was a very good race.
And now talk about the battle with Juan Costa. A little bit of contact there between the two of you, but you were both able to continue. How do you consider that? Have you been able to go back and look and see at the incident?
Yeah, I haven't seen the replay yet, but first of all, on the first straight, I was trying to just play mind games with Costa and trying to make him make an error, and I was happy he was able to. He made a mistake, went a bit too wide. I was able to get side by side with him, and yeah, we had a contact. I don't know really what happened there. Maybe I went a bit too wide or something like that, but I need to check the replay first.
Yeah, you were successfully able to spook him there into that corner. But in the end, you did bring it home with a victory. And this could be important. You came in 3rd in the points with a bit of distance back from Marco Kayla. Without him here, what does this do for your plan for the remaining rounds of the season?
Yeah, this is very important win if I want to win the championship. So this was really great.
Well, again, congratulations. Is there anybody you want to thank for today's treat?
Well, I want to thank Jukka. We were practicing whole week, sharing data, and he also shared his setup with me, which felt very nice from start to finish. So Jukka was the man today. Sadly, seems like he had some kind of mistake during the race, but he had great pace. He had a chance to win this race also. We had similar pace whole week, so thanks, Jukka.
Yeah, he got caught up in an accident, unfortunately. That was our winner, Pauli Partanen, here from 2nd on the grid. We've got one more to talk to, and that was Barry West, who finished 11th. DJ has caught up with him.
I have indeed, Barry. A race out there where it looked like it was pretty difficult to overtake, but you were able to just kind of keep your nose out of trouble and come home with a solid 11th place. How was it for you out there?
Well, I have to say that was pretty hectic. You've got to concentrate every corner in this place. It's so slippy, this track. If you put the power down a fraction too early, you make a mistake, lose so much time. I was just trying to stay on the track and still made little half mistakes, but no spins, fortunately. But on Robert, he had a spin towards the end, and he was catching up, and he tried to go for me. I don't know if you got it into turn 1, and it's difficult to go around the outside there, but he did, just had a spin, and that was it, sort of thing. But had a good little ding dong with Benoit, and he did a really took me on the outside of the turn 5, is it? The really nasty one with the nasty curbs. But yeah, that was impressive. But yeah, I'm glad it's over in a way. This track could be so much better if there's just a little bit more grit. Be so much more enjoyable. But I suppose it's a tilt track, so it's very slippy.
Well, I'm curious in terms of, the track like this where it is so slippery and overtaking it is fairly limited. Does that change your mentality at all when you're going into it? Does that change the way you prepare for the race?
I suppose it does with me. I mean, I'm not one of the fast guys, and I just try and keep it on the track and try and race fair with everybody. Like Pablo made a mistake. He was faster than me at this track. He's my arch nemesis, really, but he's doing really well lately, and he was much faster than me here. So when he caught up, I let him go. I didn't put up a fight. You fight so much here. It just costs you so much time. So you could fight one person and then lose the place, and then you'd have the person that was 4 seconds behind you on your tail, and then you could lose that one. It's just one of those tracks that is really difficult to overtake. I suppose Turn 1 is the only place really unless you make mistakes, and that's what it's all about. The people who make the less mistakes seem to do all right, and that's why I've done better here than I normally do.
Well, next week we head to a track that's a little bit more familiar and hopefully will suit these cars a little bit better in Interlagos. How do you think that'll handle out there for you in the yellow machine?
Well, that's going to be tricky, isn't it? Because it's two ways you can go there. You can go fast in the infield with plenty of downforce, but then you get slaughtered on the straight. So you've got to make up enough time on the infield to be able to keep them off on the straight. So it's a very fine balance, and it'd be interesting to see what happens there, because you in the infield you get people with the downforce on the cars, getting frustrated behind the cars that haven't got any downforce. So there can be lots of incidents there. So get peeled. Watch GSRC next week.
Well, I guarantee I'll be watching it. I'll be here for you covering it. Barry, anybody you want to thank here for this 11th place run today?
No, just my wife for thanking me, letting me doing it. And thank you guys for doing such a good job. Cheers.
Cheers, Barry. That was Barry West, your 11th place finisher out here today at the Hungaroring. Joe?
And that's going to close out our interview. So we want to give a big thank you to our the Lotus 79 community, of course, for bringing us back for another season of coverage. But we also want to thank the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast, listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As was mentioned, the next race a week from now will be at Interlagos Sunday, November 7th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Actually, make that 11:30 p.m. Eastern, because that'll be our first one after daylight savings. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. A little later tonight, if you're not at a Halloween party, we've got the PRL NASCAR Cup Series at Martinsville. That'll be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Stay safe out there, and until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.